And most people think that gender, sex, and sexuality depend on each other and are the same thing, but that's simply not the case. So first, I'm going to start with gender, which is, according to my Women's and Gender Studies textbook called Women's Voices, The Feminist Vision, gender is the way society creates patterns and rewards understanding of femininity and masculinity, and also it's the process where certain behavior performances are ascribed to women and men. And going off of that, gender identity is how you feel in your head about what your gender is, and gender expression is how you express your gender through clothing and mannerisms. And then your sex, which is different, is basically women and men have in your head, and your sex is how you are anatomically. And then lastly, your sexual attraction is which gender or genders you're attracted to. And I found this good visual aid of how all of these things work. And a lot of people think that it's just a linear scale from male to female, but in actuality, everyone has a little bit of female or male in them, and where you are on the two paths determines your identity for these different traits. And the very last thing for this segment that I'm going to talk about is the gender binary. So I created a Venn diagram of how our society views gender, and as you can tell, there is no overlap, and women are thought of as feminine and motherly and quiet, while men are considered super tough and not supposed to show their emotions. And femininity and masculinity are reinforced in our culture through the media, such as TV shows that only show certain types of characters, and also our peers reinforce this by saying slurs like fag or pussy when you're not living up to these standards. And in actuality, there's a big overlap of everyone with masculinity and femininity. And now that you know the basics, I'm going to explain who intersex people are. So this is a pretty complicated idea, in my opinion. So I got a long list of definitions, and I'm only going to say a few of them. So according to my Women's and Gender Studies textbook, intersex means having a reproductive anatomy that doesn't fit into the normal binary definitions of sex. Emily Quinn, an intersex individual, thinks that intersex is an umbrella term for different people with different sex characteristics. And then in a book called Intersex by Catherine Harper, a person who's intersex is someone whose biology includes an identifiable mixture of both male and female characteristics. And there's more examples there that you probably already read. So what are these variations that I'm talking about? So some variations are differences in chromosomes, genitalia, reproductive organs, and secondary sex characteristics. And secondary sex characteristics are characteristics ascribed to certain sexes but aren't necessary for reproduction. And also I included a Quigley scale, which I feel like is a pretty good representation of different anatomies, but obviously it doesn't represent every single case. And in the media, there's a lack of representation of intersex people, so I found a girl named Emily Quinn, who is intersex, and she works for Cartoon Network, and she came out last year, and basically she says that being intersex is not rare, just invisible. And also, here are examples of hermaphrodites in nature, such as fish, worms, flowers, and different reptiles. Plot twist to Finding Nemo, Nemo's dad probably would have turned into a girlfish because there are no more female fish around. Now that you know what being intersex is, I will tell you how they were medically treated. So, according to the Intersex Society of North America, the ideas on how to treat intersex people formed around the 1950s from the Johns Hopkins University, and they thought that if you made a child's or if you assigned their sex and made them look believable, then they would be passable and straight boys or girls when they grew up. And often they would choose a surgery that was just easiest to perform instead of taking into account what their identity might be in the future. And they often were taught to lie to the parents about their child, and they would withhold information. So, and like they wouldn't even tell the parents the word intersex, which obviously isn't good if they want to take care of their child properly. And they were told the parents that they're following nature's intentions. And later they found out that the brain chemistry of your gender identity doesn't show up till later in life. So determining someone's gender early on is harmful. So some examples of how they treated intersex people would, they would remove pleural tissue that was deemed too large. They would reconfigure the penis. So if there are extra holes besides the one on the tip, they would fix that. And they would remove tissue that didn't go according to their sex assignment, or they would just reassign it in general. And this is a scale on how they would decide if they needed surgery or not, based on clitoral or penile length. And obviously this caused some damage to people when they thought that they were the other sex. And I have some examples of people who are they would sue the doctors later on. And in conclusion, I explained gender and sex, defined intersex individuals, and noted how intersex people are fixed by society. And I hope you leave today understanding this concept so that if you have a child who is intersex or someone you know is intersex, you can know what's going on. Thanks.